When you think of a war in American history with the most casualties, what normally comes to mind? Certain events do stick out, like World War I, World War II, the 2013 battle for the last PS4 on Black Friday, stuff where you got Americans sacrificing their lives to save the world, or save $1.50 on overpriced clothing. But the real answer is actually the American Civil War, or as I like to call it, the war where one side went, how about we give those slaves some actual human rights? While the other side went, how about you go fuck yourself? The war went on for around 4 years and caused 750,000 deaths in the US, and will always be remembered as a dark time in America's history. Anyway, let's go make fun of it for 10 minutes straight by talking about the wildest and weirdest stories from the American Civil War. But first, we gotta talk about how the Civil War started in the first place. I mean, you'd think a country called the United States of America would be able to keep its shit together, but apparently not. That's like Toys R Us running out of toys. Oh wait, they did that. That's like Amazon running out of underpaid workers. The whole war first started when Abraham Lincoln became president. You know him, big guy, sitting on a chair, looking pissed off because he's only on the $5 bill and not the 100. Everyone knows who this guy is. And when he became president, Lincoln made a very bold statement, one that only someone with a lot of bravery could make. Slavery is not cool. Now in today's world, that's not exactly a mind-blowing statement. I hope. But this was the 1800s, when the British and Americans were too busy snorting golden cocaine off of Africa's back to discuss whether chaining up people and forcing them to work for you for eternity was a good idea. Apparently this statement was a bit too much for 11 American states to handle, namely Texas, 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 nobody cares, and Florida. I mean, imagine giving slaves their freedom. We might as well just give women the right to vote while we're at it. What is this, communist China? Those 11 states apparently couldn't go on without their daily dose of crimes against humanity. I mean, what? We're just supposed to hire people and give them actual money so that they do work willingly? What is this, communist China? And so they decided that if they weren't going to be allowed to have slaves in the US, well, they were going to make their own country where slavery was legal. Out of all the reasons to make a new country, this one's not that high on that list. They were going to call this new country the Confederate States of America, which is not very creative, but then again, America was never really known for that, was it? The rest of the USA, well, I guess now it's just the SA, were obviously against this, but the Confederates would not back down. Now all of this led to the day the war started, April 12, 1861, at a place called Fort Sumter. This place was, well, a fort that was in the US and flew the American flag, but since the Confederates made their own country, they decided that it actually belonged to them, and so they marched an army up to the fort to make them surrender and become part of the new country. When they heard this, the Union States sent their own army to stop the rebellion, but after hours of fighting, their army had to surrender and leave the fort, and the Confederates took over the area. And so, this battle marked the start of the American Civil War. So in summary, slavery was made illegal, a bunch of people got mad at that, for some reason. They made a new country and then instantly declared war on their neighbors. But then again, diplomacy isn't really the best option when your country's founding principle is just, we love slavery. Now after this first battle, Abraham Lincoln and the Union States started gathering up troops to fight the Confederates. They gathered up around 75,000 volunteers who were only supposed to fight for 90 days because that's how short they thought the war was going to be. In fact, most people thought the war would be over pretty quickly. Both armies face off, the Union wins, slavery is abolished, racism has ended, and we all live happily ever after. How incredibly wrong they were. The first battle between the Union and Confederate troops, called the First Battle of Bull Run, was going to take place over here, and most people expected it to be a pretty easy victory for the Union. I mean, one side's got 39 states, the other's got 11, so the winner seems pretty obvious. In fact, people were so sure that it was going to be a short battle that they even came out to the battlefield to watch, and some people even brought picnic baskets in case they got hungry. Because nothing says a leisurely Sunday afternoon than watching thousands of people kill each other while you enjoy some homemade apple pie. And if you ran out of food, don't worry about it, because some people took this opportunity to make some money by selling food. And what could be more American than that? But what was supposed to be a fun family event soon turned bad when the Confederate Army launched a really strong counterattack on the Union Army, killing a lot of their soldiers and forcing them to retreat. The onlookers suddenly realized why most battles don't have an audience, as they ran away as quickly as possible from the attacking army. When the dust settled, the battle had over 5,000 casualties and 900 deaths, kicking off the Civil War in the bloodiest way possible. It showed everyone that this war was going to be anything but short and easy. And worst of all, that guy never got to finish his homemade apple pie. Truly a sad day in American history. Now you might be wondering how the Confederates were able to win that battle if the odds were stacked against them. I mean, this is a really inspirational underdog story, except for the fact that they were fighting for slavery instead of against it. Well, their victory had a lot to do with one man. This man, Thomas Jonathan Jackson, better known as Stonewall Jackson. He was a general in the Confederate Army who first became known during this battle. He was able to defend against a strong Union attack and provide reinforcements to the Confederate Army to help them win. And he got the name Stonewall because of how good his defense was. He would go on to become one of the best generals in US history, so he's clearly an important and well-respected person. But he also had some weird habits when it came to his health. For some reason, Stonewall always believed that one of his arms was bigger than the other, and one of his legs was bigger than the other. Now this doesn't exactly seem like the biggest problem, especially for 1800 standards, but for Stonewall, this was serious business. His solution to fix this problem was to occasionally lift an arm up so that blood would flow down from the heavy arm back into the body and everything would be equal. Now if that sounds like complete bullshit, that's because it absolutely is. But Stonewall was really committed to doing this, so much so that he even did it in the middle of an active military battle, which, unsurprisingly, resulted in him getting shot in the hand. He still kept doing this after that though, so I guess he really does live up to that Stonewall name. He also had the habit of standing upright because he wanted his organs to be naturally aligned, which I'm pretty sure was him just trying to act like he was 6 feet tall. But then again, he was a high-ranking military general remembered throughout history, while I'm just a guy who talks to himself on the internet. So you know what? Standing upright, arm raised up, this might actually be the secret to success. This looks really bad, doesn't it? Now while the war might have split the whole nation and forced them to pick a side, there were still some people out there who managed to get the best of both worlds. Entered the American Banknote Company. Established in 1795, these guys were the source of all your national currency needs. They were in charge of printing all the money in the US, and when the Civil War happened, the Union states asked them to print a new currency to fund the war. These notes were called greenbacks, and the company produced 7.25 million notes during the Civil War. So as you can see, these guys were making money, literally. But at the same time, the Confederates also wanted to make a new currency for their new country. So they too came to the American Banknote Company to print some money. Now the company already had a deal with the Union, but hey, $20 is $20. So they started making some money for the Confederates too. So while both sides were bickering over things like slavery and human rights violations, the American Banknote Company was reaping all the benefits. Just remember kids, when you play both sides, you're always going to be on top. Speaking of both sides, another thing that both the Confederates and the Union had in common was a guy named Jefferson Davis, or rather two guys with the same name. The Confederate Jefferson was the president of the Confederate States from 1861 to 1865, while the Union Jefferson was a general in the Union Army who led a few battles and also murdered his superior officer. So yeah, the name's pretty much all they have in common. Now, this didn't really cause that much of a problem for either side. I mean, the Confederate Jefferson's all the way in wherever the president lives, and the Union Jefferson was fighting in the battlefield far, far away. So there's absolutely no room for confusion there, right? Well, that was the case until the Battle of Chimichanga, Chickamauga. In 1863, a bunch of Union soldiers were marching in the darkness when they heard something near them. Wait, do you guys hear that? There's people there in the darkness. Hey, who are you guys? We're soldiers. Yeah, who's soldiers? Who's your leader? Jefferson Davis? You mean Jefferson Davis, the Union general, right? Yeah, definitely him. Love that guy. And you, of course, don't mean Jefferson Davis, the Confederate president. Nope, not at all. We're Union guys. You can trust us. Oh, thank God, dude. You wouldn't believe what we've... Oh, you were lying. The Union soldiers believed that the soldiers they found were Union guys under the General Jefferson Davis's command. So they let their guard down, which allowed the Confederates, who were actually talking about their president, Jefferson Davis, to attack them easily and eventually win the Battle of Chipolata. God damn it, I did it again. So yeah, that was the story of how the Civil War happened in the first place and a few wild stories from the war. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment, and watch another video by clicking right here. I'll see you guys later.
I got bands.